Good evening, Miss Wilson. My name is Miss Shonda Wins-Cummins, and I'm delighted to engage you in this recording on the declarations and inclusion policies of persons with disabilities. Introduction. The rights and inclusion of persons with disabilities, PWDs, represent a crucial domain of modern human rights, evolving from charity-based models to comprehensive legal entitlements. This analysis focuses on 5 legal instruments, 2 international regional and 3 national to Guyana, that collectively established the normative, political, and legislative framework for ensuring the full and equal participation of persons with disabilities in society. The United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, CRPD, an international treaty, fundamentally redefined disability as a matter of human rights, shifting the global paradigm, United Nations 2006. This global standard is frequently contrasted with influential national legislation, such as the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, in the United States, which provides a detailed, enforceable model for comprehensive accessibility and anti-discrimination law, U.S. Department of Justice, 1990. Domestically, Guyana has progressively sought to localize these international obligations through a series of national acts: the Persons with Disabilities Act, PDA, of 2010, the Broader Equal Opportunities Act, EOA, and the Reinforcing Framework of the Disability Discrimination Act, DDA, of 2014. These declarations and acts serve as essential pillars for monitoring state obligations and safeguarding the legal and societal equality of persons with disabilities in Guyana. The poster declarations illustrate the evolution of disability rights from a global commitment to specific national legislation. Here are the details of each of the 5 declarations acts. 1. Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, CRPD. The CRPD is a foundational international human rights treaty for disability rights. Feature detail. Type: UN International Human Rights Treaty, 2006, enforced 2008. Core principle. Core principle: paradigm shift. Moving away from viewing persons with disabilities, PWDs, as objects of charity, medical treatment, or social protection, to viewing them as subjects of rights, capable of making decisions and being active members of society. Key obligations: selected articles. Accessibility, Article 9, requires state parties to identify and eliminate obstacles and barriers to accessibility in the physical environment, transportation, information and communication, including information technology. Equal recognition before the law, Article 12, requires states parties to recognize that persons with disabilities enjoy legal capacity on an equal basis with others in all aspects of life, and mandates support for exercising that capacity. Education, Article 24, ensures an inclusive education system at all levels and lifelong learning, providing reasonable accommodation and required support within the general education system. Work and Employment, Article 27, prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability concerning all matters concerning employment and mandates the promotion of employment opportunities in the open. Monitoring requires states parties like Guyana to submit periodic reports to the Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which reviews progress and makes recommendations. Guyana's role: Guyana signed and ratified the CRPD, making the Convention's principles the primary guiding principles for its national policies and laws, as explicitly stated in its own Person with Disability Act 2010. 2. Americas with Disabilities Act, ADA. The ADA is a comprehensive U.S. civic rights law, often cited internationally as a model for strong, enforceable national disability legislation. Feature detail: type: U.S. Federal Rights Law 1990. Purpose: to guarantee equal opportunity for individuals with disabilities in public accommodations, employment, transportation, state and local government services, and telecommunications. Key titles: Title 1, Employment. Prohibits discrimination in all employment practices, hiring, firing, promotion, pay, by employers with 15 or more employees. Requires employers to provide reasonable accommodations unless doing so would cause undue hardship. Title 2, State and Local Government. Prohibits discrimination by state and local government entities. Mandates accessibility in all public programs, services, and activities, including public transportation. Title 3, Public Accommodations. Requires businesses and non-profit service providers, stores, restaurants, hotels, movie theaters, etc., to provide full and equal access to goods and services, including removing architectural barriers where readily achievable. Definition of disability: a person who has a physical or mental impairment that substantially limit one or more major life activities, has a record of such an impairment, or is regarded as having such an impairment. Impacted to the establishment of detailed accessibility standards, ADA standards for accessible design for buildings and facilities. 3. Guyana's Person with Disabilities Act, PDA, Cap 3605, 2010. This is Guyana's landmark legislation intended to fulfill its CRPD obligations. Feature detail: type: National Act of Parliament 2010. Relation to CRPD explicitly states that the UN CRPD shall inform decisions taken in the administration of this act. It is a legislative tool to domesticate the CRPD's principles. Key provisions: establishment of the NCD, created the National Commission on Disability (NCD) to implement, monitor, and enforce the Act, manage the National Register, and advise the government. Employment: prohibits discrimination in employment and mandates employers to provide reasonable accommodation. Requires the government to promote vocational training. Education: mandates the Ministry of Education to ensure PWDs are not excluded from the general education system, that teachers are trained, and that necessary auxiliary aids and services are provided. Accessibilities: mandates accessibility in the built environment, public, private buildings, and public transport. Health and rehabilitation: requires the provision of free rehabilitation and medical services and early diagnosis intervention programs. Communication: requires a national TV stations to provide sign language or subtitles for at least one daily newscast. National Register mandates the registration of all persons with a permanent disability and disability organization with the NCD. 4. The Equal Opportunities Act, EOA, Chapter 9908, 1990, amended 2005. While not solely a disability act, it plays a crucial role in the anti-discrimination framework. Feature detail. Type: National Anti-Discrimination Act 1990 updated. Core purpose: to prohibit certain kinds of discrimination and promote equality of opportunity in the areas of employment, training, recruitment, and membership of professional bodies. Disability inclusion: the EOA, in its current form, often combined with the Prevention of Discrimination Act, explicitly lists disability as a protected ground alongside race, sex, religion, and others. Section 4(2). Enforcement prohibits an employer from discriminating in job advertisements, recruitment, terms of employment, promotion and termination on the ground of disability. Any act or policy that indirectly results in discrimination is also unlawful. Complementary role: this act provides a broader anti-discrimination framework, while the PDA 2010 provides the specific, detailed rights and accessibility mandates for PWDs. 5. The Disability Discrimination Act (DDA). This is often an alternative name or miscitation for Guyana's PDA 2010, which is a comprehensive anti-discrimination law. In Guyana's context, the reference to a distinct Disability Discrimination Act (DDA) 2014 on the graphic is likely referring to the ongoing enforcement, amendments, or key implementation milestones that followed the Comprehensive Persons with Disabilities Act (PDA) 2010. The PDA is the main anti-discrimination law for disability. Feature detail. Focus: if distinct from the PDA, it emphasizes enforcement of non-discrimination provisions that were weak in the initial years of the PDA's implementation. Core idea: the DDA-PDA's core function is defining and prohibiting discrimination on all the basis of disability. Any distinction, exclusion, or restriction which has a purpose or effect of impairing or nullifying the recognition, enjoyment, or exercise of human rights. Criminal offenses: the DDA sets out offenses and penalties for non-compliance, particularly for employers and those who fail to meet accessibility requirements, reinforcing the legal consequences of discrimination. Reasonable accommodation reinforces the PDA's requirement for reasonable accommodation, legally define it as necessary and suitable changes or adjustments that do not impose an undue hardship on the employer or service provider. These 5 declarations create a powerful and interlinked legal structure, ensuring that disability rights are recognized globally. CRPD, modeled by successful national laws (ADA) and legally enforced through specific national acts (PDA, EOA, DDA in Guyana. Conclusion: the progression from the global aspirational mandates of the CRPD to the specific national legislation in Guyana, namely the PDA 2010, the EOA, and the DDA 2014, illustrates a critical journey toward legislative commitment to disability rights. The CRPD established the principle of rights-based inclusion, while the ADA provided a powerful global template for domestic enforcement through accessibility standards and anti-discrimination measures. Guyana's national acts formally integrate these principles into its legal system, establishing mechanisms like the National Commission on Disability and mandating rights across key sectors such as employment, education, and access to the built environment. While the legal framework is robust, the challenge, as noted in the analysis, remains effective enforcement and allocation of adequate resources to translate statutory rights into live realities. Ultimately, the successful implementation of these 5 pillars is essential to ensuring that the rights and equality of persons with disabilities are fully realized, moving beyond legal texts to achieve true societal inclusion. Here are the references for this presentation. Guyana 2010, Persons with Disabilities Act number 12 of 2010, Official Gazette of Guyana. Guyana 1990, Equal Opportunities Act, Chapter 9908, amended 2005, Parliament of Guyana. Guyana 2014, Disability Discrimination Act 2014, Official Gazette of Guyana. United Nations 2006, Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, Treaty Series 25153. U.S. Department of Justice, 1990. Americas with Disabilities Act of 1990, Publisher L number 101336, 104 Stat 328. Here ends the recording of my presentation. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.